John, it's Alex Wagner here. In terms of those votes and who cast what, can you give us a sense of the Get Out the Vote effort? Harry Reid is no longer there. He played such a pivotal role in organizing and the Get Out the Vote effort in the state of Nevada. The Culinary Workers Union is the Democratic machine there. How effective do you think their efforts were? Is it meaningful that the average, culinary worker is a 44-year-old Latina in a moment when we're talking about such pocketbook issues, we're talking about economic issues? Do you think that helped the Democrats' message going into the election?
Well, that's a great question, Alex, and it's a very relevant question because, as Rachel mentioned, there were about 60,000 ballots that were taken from those drop boxes that were put in there yesterday. Guess which union ran a Dropbox campaign with its members to try to help Catherine Cortez Masto and the Democratic ticket? That's right, the Culinary Union. And it's interesting that you mentioned the profile of the Latino worker for the Culinary. They are not just an integral cog in the Reid machine. They are the Hispanic turnout machine in Nevada. And to turn out for that 44-year-old Latina, for the first Latina ever elected to the U.S. Senate, has been a motivating factor for those union members. And so I think the Democrats hope that the huge proportion of those 60,000 ballots that just came in yesterday into those drop boxes were culinary driven and therefore will really help the Democratic ticket up and down.
John, I know that prognosticating is something that none of us should do without talking through the data here, but I feel like you, as an election observer in Nevada, can feel the currents here better than anybody else that I know, which is why you and I have been talking about Nevada elections for so long now. Do you feel at the end of the day that the Democrats have a shot at the senator's race, at the Senate race, at the governor's race? Do you feel like the Republican leads here are impregnable, or do you think that Democrats' hopes here, bottom line, are reasonable?
I think their hopes in the Senate race are very reasonable, although by no means assured, Rachel. As I mentioned, if they keep up the current pace in Clark County, she is going to cut deeply into that statewide lead and perhaps even take the lead, although it may not be practical to think they're going to do 65% of all those ballots. But if she gets 60% of the ballots, she is going to win that race, all other things being equal. Remember one other thing. There's more mail coming in, as long as you mentioned it's postmarked on Tuesday, can come in through Saturday. That is probably going to favor the Democrats as well. Having said that, the governor's race still seems like a bridge too far because of the margin there. And so it would really have to be a huge mail dump and huge margins in there for Steve Sisolak to overtake Joe Lombardo. As you can see there, Rachel, that margin is twice what Catherine Cortez Masto was behind by. But I think that this is going to pull the rest of the Democratic statewide ticket, or many of them, over the top, including, very importantly, the man running against one of the worst election deniers in the nation, Jim Marchant, who's running for Secretary of State.
Jon Ralston, CEO of the Nevada Independent, absolutely indispensable, as always. John, thank you so much for your time tonight. You know, it's interesting. I mean, we talked about introducing John, talking about him being blunt-spoken. He is very blunt-spoken on these things. He's saying that Catherine Cortez Masto has a real shot. He does not, sounds like he does not think that Steve Sisolak has nearly as good a shot. But, you know, we also have to look at that Secretary of State race. And there are outstanding House races there, too. I mean, Nevada, I don't know when we're going to get. I don't know when we're going to get all that ballot, and I don't know how these counts are going to go. But Nevada and Arizona are really going to be down to the wire.
Well, and Nevada has this almost Wisconsin-like quality in the last few elections, where it's just you just know it's going to be extremely close, extremely like fingernail. And I think it's interesting to look at Cortez Masto and Sisolak, right? Because we look at these, Bolduc and Sununu. You got these sort of statewide races. In this case, you got two incumbents, right? So it's most apples to apple. They're only running 18,000 votes apart, so we should be clear about that. But I remember having Governor Sisolak on my show, and I thought during the pandemic he had one of the hardest jobs in the entire country, which was shutting down Las Vegas. Like, truly one of the, and he had to do it, and you could tell he was tortured, and you can tell people were ticked off about it, and he tried to navigate what was an incredibly difficult situation. I think arguably the most difficult in the nation, and I think to the extent you see that 18,000 vote difference there, and particularly them nominating a Clark County politician to run against him, which is very, very crucial, that explains some of that difference there.
But there was a bunch of pieces of good news for Democrats, and what Jon Ralston said, it's always a relief when Jon Ralston, what he's saying is aligned with what I'm hearing. But the Democrats I've talked to, people who are watching this very, very closely, say that, one, the more ballots that come in, the better it is for Catherine Cortez Masto, because the Democrats from the beginning have been running their strategy focused on these mail-in ballots and also on these drop boxes. And they've been working, of course, with the Culinary Union, as he said. They have been instilling confidence in people, telling people this is how you should vote. And the 2-to-1 margin he mentioned, it tells you that. So the more that comes in, the more space. And they have a dose of confidence. I'm not going to overcrank it. We don't know yet in both the Secretary of State race, the Attorney General race, as well as the House races. And those were all races coming into last night that were very much up in the air.